Coming up, the men's basketball team fought hard on Wednesday night. We'll tell you where they stand in the conference.
Plus, we'll take a look at some new art exhibits here on campus.
And it's time to exercise your right to vote. We'll update you on student elections. Weber State News starts now.
Welcome to Weber State News. I'm Josh Meservey.
And I'm John Coyle. You may have noticed the abundance of signs around campus for student elections this week. The executive leaders of Weber State's student body were elected this week. John Caple has the story.
Our founding fathers held fast to the principles of one's right to cast their ballot. Weber State students had an opportunity to vote for the executive positions. How important is it to exercise your right to vote?
I think it's extremely important because I think that's kind of what gives us our word and input on what goes on at the school.
Those that are elected into office have an obligation. The idea of being heard is a key issue of the voting concept.
It's the most important thing because it's the way for us to represent every student. I don't feel that I should be the student body president, but rather your student body president.
How students' fees are spent is a concern for students.
One thing students can use is their own personal vote, which is power in and of itself, to influence who is put into office. And those officers are in return going to decide how the student fees are used.
Voters are deciding on who will be the next president of the student body and who will head the several VP committees.
It's very important because the next student body president is on the student fees committee, where they basically allocate student fees and decide who gets like what money, and the different vice president positions help decide like what events go on.
The quality of government depends solely on the electorate.
I feel it's super important that we have elections so we can get the proper people in place.
For Weber State News, I'm John Caple.
As the presidency votes are tallied, students can prepare for the senator votes next week. The signs on campus will change from campaigning for the president positions to campaigning for the Senate positions. Senate positions on the ballot range from diversity and minority senators to senators who will represent the College of Arts and Humanities. These senators will be the students that represent you in the different activities and opportunities that are here for students. Vote online at weber.edu/studentinvolvement/elections.html and make your voice heard.
Have you heard, by the way, Utah legislators are looking to cut your scholarship funding. I was at the Capital recently to get the scoop. There, Weber State students and many other universities brought their students to hear legislators from the House and the Senate, whom talked on the bills they are proposing for this fiscal year. Weber State alumni met with Utah legislators recently to talk about current legislation. Governor Gary Herbert made an appearance, along with Val A. Peterson from the House of Representatives and many others. President Michael G. Wallops also gave his point of view on the necessary 7% budget cuts, but this cut can be as high as $50 million for higher education funding. For the most part, students are disappointed with the budget cuts. I spoke with Kyle Breathwaite and Lenal Wisham, and they addressed some concerns.
You take away from the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the availability of education to multiple individuals across the state.
Class times, how many people are allowed to be admitted to the schools, how long it takes people to finish up with their major because there's only going to be certain classes that are offered at certain times.
Another topic of discussion was the complete dissolving of any tenure status for university professors.
Basically exclude tenure out of the state of Utah.
Professors from all over the country at Weber State, I feel like if there's not going to be a tenure and there's a tenure in the other 49 states, I think that that's going to be kind of a problem to try to entice those people to want to come to the state of Utah.
Weber State students were able to share their concerns with legislators who reassured them they were doing their best to provide for our needs in higher education. Some good news, the professor tenure bill has been struck down since that meeting. With the number 2 seed on the line, the Wildcats basketball team played the Eastern Washington Eagles. Let's see how they did. Kyle Bollinger was looking good, and the gang came out playing. By halftime, things got ugly, and it was 40-22 Eastern Washington, the Eagles dominating the first half. The Wildcats aren't done, though. Lindsey Huey was as cool as the other side of the pillow. He had 21 points to end the night. Bollinger also dropped 3 in the net from three-point land, among others who helped out the lead to cut the lead down to 4. The Eagles would not have have it, though. They took control and finished the night 75-59, over the Wildcats. Here's what they had to say in their post-game interview.
I like a whole lot of what happened tonight. You know, when you lose by 18 points, you can't really take a lot of good out of it.
I do trust these kids, and we had a hiccup tonight, and something tells me that they'll find a way to get it back for the next one.
The only thing that we can take out of this is if we're not ready to play against this team, we will lose, and we will lose ugly like we did tonight.
The Wildcats will have a second shot at Eastern Washington in the Big Sky playoffs on Saturday. So buy some tickets and bring your buddies, because it will be a rematch you will not want to miss.
This Saturday is round 1 of the Big Sky Conference Tournament. We will have highlights Monday on Weber State Sports.
We'll also take a look at Pro Day, where Weber State football players were strutting their stuff in front of NFL scouts.
Pro Day is a pretty big day for some of our football players here at Weber State.
I think so. I think it's going to be important how the weather's going to be while they're outside.
I believe Brandon Lamb has our 7-day forecast. Brandon, what's it look like?
Well, let's take a look right now outside of Stewart Library, looking out here at the live feed at the clock tower. We've just got a few high clouds. Looks a lot better than it did yesterday, of course. We had all that rain and slush and stuff going on. Now let's move over to our weather maps. Thanks to AccuWeather.com for our weather maps. Here's our high and low pressures. If you look at the United States alone, we've only got a low pressure system right along this area right here. And the western states, we've got a big high pressure system going on. Let's move to tomorrow's map. And you can see this low pressure sitting out here in the Pacific is slowly starting to migrate. And here with our radar satellite image, Weber State Stewart Library. Our moving radar satellite image. You can see that there is some movement going on up here. And this is actually going to be pulled in. Let's move in closer to Utah and see how this weather is going to be affecting us. Right now, this is what's left from yesterday's storm. So we're just going to see some high clouds throughout the day. And tomorrow, we're going to be looking at 47. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to have that low pressure system come in. We'll be having some snow. And Wednesday through Thursday, we'll be back up in the 40s. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Brandon. It looks beautiful out there right now. Speaking of beautiful, if you want to see some early Utah art, Brandon Lamb tells us where you can enjoy some spectacular pieces of work.
Weber State Stewart Library is where Utah's early masterpieces Alice Art Collection hangs on display. Featured are 26 pieces from local artists in G-clay replicas. The historical significance tells the story of the early Utah painters, the era in which they lived, and the value they placed in creating the paintings. Work from as early as 1898 to 1938, and from artists such as T.J. Hardwood, LeConte Stewart, Rose Hartwell, and George Taggart can be seen. As part of the Utah Art Council, this traveling art exhibit will be on display through April 11th on the lower and middle level of Stewart Library. For Weber State News, I'm Brandon Lamb.
For another amazing display, check out the Kimball Arts Gallery next Friday, where works from local artists will be displayed in conjunction with Ogden's First Friday Art Stroll.
Wow. I'm going to have to take a stroll next Friday.
Yeah, maybe take a date. Maybe take one of those girls you were telling me about before the show.
Oh, yeah, you know.
There's 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah,
so you got
I might just take all of them on the one date.
There you go.
I mean,
save money that way.
Definitely. Thanks for watching Weber State News. Don't forget you can watch all of our newscasts, sportscasts, and Studio 76 on our website, www.weberstatenews.org. We'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Josh Meservey.
And I'm John Coyle. Thanks for watching.